I want us to always have one conversation every February where we kind of just remind ourselves of what is it?
Yeah.
Why is it important?
Yeah.
And then there's some things about it that, like, there's some things I didn't realize were rhythms and things about Black History Month that you've taught me. And so, let's talk about Black History Month, man.
Yeah. Apollo's dead.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know.
You were the first person I thought about when I was like, yo.
I genuinely got sad.
Yo, so Quo texted me because I was on site at one of our events. And then I was like, yo, I got to text Brett.
Yeah.
Like, this is like Apollo Creed. Man.
I know.
That was tough, man. That was like, yo. I mean, so now you're going to see probably this weekend a run of all the Rockies.
Predator,
yes.
And then,
I forgot he was in Predator.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You remember the famous handshake between him and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yes.
Where they were like trying to see who was the biggest muscles, and
yes.
Man.
But yeah, dude, that is crazy, man. Yep. A living legend.
Carl
Weathers. He passed.
75 years old. He was in impeccable shape for 75 years old.
Yeah.
Because he was on that show, that Star Wars show, The Mandalorian.
Was he?
Yeah, he did like 2 or 3 seasons on that, and like they've got him out there shooting and fighting, and
that's crazy.
Yeah, great shape, man.
Yeah, I don't know what him and Sylvester Stallone did, as far as like, how they kept themselves in shape for so long. They're like,
I think you know.
I
think it wasn't all.
It wasn't all natural.
Yeah,
it wasn't all au natural.
No, I would imagine there's a little extra help for that.
Good vitamins. Some good vitamins.
They might have fallen under the vitamin category.
Some nutrients
that you put in a syringe.
Yeah. Man.
Carl Weathers. I literally got sad when I saw Carl Weathers, excuse me. Yeah. But his famous character Apollo Creed. And his second famous character was not Predator, and it was not in The Mandalorian. His second most famous character was in a. You were too sanctified probably to watch this, but do you remember the Adam Sandler movie where he became a golfer? What was that one? Is that one Billy Madison? Happy Gilmore? Happy
Gilmore.
Yeah. So he was the instructor in Happy Gilmore who had the hand that had been bitten off by the alligator.
No way. Listen, I definitely got to look that up.
It was such out of the blue. Have you ever seen Happy Gilmore?
I have not seen Happy Gilmore.
Are you kidding me?
I am just,
it's one of the great classics of all time.
I know, man. I live the shelter.
So Adam Sandler has an anger problem.
Yeah. And
so he gets kicked out of hockey.
Okay.
And so he ends up becoming a professional golfer. Uh-huh. The movie's 25 years old.
Dude.
But then he needs somebody to coach him.
And it's Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers plays the character, and he's this weird, like, neurotic guy who has a beef with an alligator who bit his hand off and ended his career earlier.
So he knows what alligators are.
So funny. He just embraced his comedic side so well.
I cannot picture.
All through the movie, his hand's breaking, and he's talking to him, and it's shaking, and this fake hand.
Dude, I totally cannot picture Carl Weathers playing like, this is Apollo.
No, he put on the comedy hat.
I haven't seen it, but I will put it in the vault to.
You need to watch it because in that movie, also, Bob Barker is in the movie for a minute.
Really?
And Happy Gilmore, played by Adam Sandler, gets into a fight with Bob Barker on the golf course.
Oh, snap.
And to show you how famous it is. Uh-huh. Like when Bob Barker was in the hospital a while back. He died now. He lived to be in his 90s, but he Adam Sandler visited him in the hospital, and they had a pretend fight in the hospital.
Oh,
it was such a famous scene. Shooter McGavin.
No, man, I gotta get it.
He's the nemesis in the movie.
Okay, I'm definitely.
This is one of the great.
I know the movie. I've not seen it. So that is.
So he is.
Wow,
Apollo Creed, and then I can't remember the name, but he's in that. Those are my two favorites.
Yeah, so he's the one-handed golf instructor, and Happy Gilmore.
You'd have never known, man.
Never know. Yeah. Hey, all the things you learned here at the Chasing the Elephants podcast.
All of it.
Yeah, man.
The old Bond villain is in that movie.
Yeah.
The old Bond villain who had his teeth replaced. Remember that guy who had the metal teeth?
Yeah.
He's in that movie.
Really?
He fangirls over somebody, I think somebody in the movie.
That's crazy.
And like he's always like wanting to get autographs and like this giant guy. He's giant.
Yeah.
You know? And he's in the movie and he's just this fangirl.
I definitely, bro. That's funny. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna check it. I did not know that. Was you hit me to something today, my friend.
But yeah, man, Carl Weathers, brother. He was a great guy, man.
Yeah,
great actor, action star, all that. So yeah.
So he will be missed.
Well, he's a good lead-in.
Yeah.
It's Black History Month.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm going, how are we going to build a bridge from Carl Weathers' time?
Well, we're celebrating the achievements of African Americans.
There you go.
There you go. And in film, he's in film.
He is in film.
So African Americans in film.
Professional sports, film.
Yes, yeah. Yep. There it is.
That was a horrible bridge.
Oh man, that's good. I love it. Oh man,
but it is Black History
It is.
Month.
It is. All jokes aside.
And I want us to always have one conversation every February where we kind of just remind ourselves of what is it?
Yeah.
Why is it important?
Yeah.
And then there's some things about it that we don't probably typically, like there's some things I didn't realize were rhythms and things about Black History Month that you've taught me. And so, let's talk about Black History Month, man. Let's talk about why it's important. First of all, what is it?
Okay, cool. So obviously it is an opportunity for us as a country and a world actually to pause for a moment and celebrate the achievements of some African Americans throughout history, some of the accomplishments, the achievements, the movements of African Americans in our history. And it was actually started by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Carter Woodson. And Dr. Woodson, fun fact, he was the second African American to ever earn a PhD. And the first was a gentleman by the name of Edward Boucher. And so Dr. Woodson got his PhD from Harvard. Dr. Boucher got it from Yale. And so for Dr. Woodson, he started this thing, Brent, called the Negro History Week. And Negro History Week was just that. It was just a time to just pause and then to just say, hey, we're going to just talk about here are some accomplishments or highlight some accomplishments of African Americans throughout history. And then it kind of evolved into this thing that we know of now as Black History Month. And one of the reasons that Carter Woodson, he wanted to do it in February was because two men that he admired the most, their birthdays were in February, Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass.
Wow.
Yeah, and so because these two men, one, he admired, and then two, they were already being celebrated with, in this particular month.
Yeah.
It was an opportunity to say, hey.
Makes a lot of sense.
These two men I admire, I think did some great things as it pertains to the advancement of African Americans in history, and so that's why we got it. That's why he chose February to celebrate.
Black History Month, as I've tried to pay careful and very close attention to how it is celebrated, Jeff. It seems to me that primarily the focus is characters in history, individuals.
Sure, yeah.
Primarily post-Civil War through civil rights.
Yes, that's correct.
And that seems to be, but it doesn't seem to be, and is this something that is right or wrong or bothers you? It doesn't, but it seems to be more about individualism than it does an overarching narrative.
Yeah.
Like I learn about people in Black History Month. Yeah. But I don't learn about Black history and the story of Black history in America. Is that a fair assessment?
It is, and unfortunately, it gets lost.
But the purpose of it may not be to do that, so I may be off.
Yeah. So the purpose is not. I think the purpose is supposed to be a both and, not a, not an either or. But what happens is when you highlight the achievements of an individual, which we want to do, that you sometimes can have a singular focus and say, man, we know that there are so many African Americans throughout history that have contributed in different parts of our culture and society. Awesome. But I think the whole idea is supposed to also remember some of the challenges, struggles, and achievements. You know, so the grand narrative of African Americans throughout history, and so I would agree with that. That it's a great analysis and assessment. Is that sometimes it does get lost of really us appreciating and celebrating. You know, just the history of African Americans from the beginning of time.
You know, Black History Month's been a thing. You know, even when going back to when you and I were in grade school, and so obviously my kids have grown up with it, and we've homeschooled for the last several years because we live so far out in the country, and you know, 3 of my children are Black, and 3 are white, and so when I ask my kid, I always wait till March to ask them because I don't want to. And I go, okay, what'd you learn about Black History Month? And the reason I brought that up to you is because every single time, doesn't matter which one of my kids, it's always this person did this, that person did this. And I'm going, as somebody who, you know, did their degree in history.
Right.
You know, I've taught my kids that the way you study history is you study the story. And then the more you can grasp the story, the more you grasp the individuals, the individual accomplishments, names, dates, accomplishments, which is such a flawed way to teach history. We typically go, okay, what's the date, who did it, and what was their name? You know, I mean, just like, or
and
what did they accomplish?
Of what they did.
Like, no. There's this overarching story, and if you can grasp the story or that chapter of the story, boy, you really can understand the individuals and the accomplishments therein. So that's what led me to that, wondering about that critique, because I always go, okay, what did you think? What did you learn this month? Well, we learned this person does this and this person does, and all the books that we have do it that way.
They're biographies, or autobiographies, and so and I think that you know, what happens is now you separate the story, and then you celebrate the characters. And I think that, you know, yes, we want to celebrate the characters. We want to celebrate the men and women who have contributed significantly in history and in our culture and our society and the things that they've accomplished. But there is such a bigger story that needs to be told from you know, from slavery to civil rights and even post-civil rights. I think there is still so much, because I think too, and just a calculated rabbit trail, I think
up into Juneteenth becoming a national or federal, national holiday. That's that has to be part of Black history.
It does. And you got to think about it, Brent. Like, this was not until 1976 when actually all the U.S. presidents and people in Canada started to celebrate officially Black History Month.
1976.
So I think it's important, Brent, to celebrate, to remember, and to reflect on, again, to your point, the story of Black history, along with appreciating, when we think about some of the most significant things in culture, whether it's education, whether it's arts, or agricultural, if it's architectural designs, you know, different things, music, film, that there are so many African Americans who have really kind of put their thumbprint on our culture and our world. And so I think it's important. It's a sense of pride for many African Americans to say, hey, let's remember and let's remember, you know, and reflect and celebrate some accomplishments and achievements, along with acknowledging that there's still some challenges and struggles that we need to deal with.
You know, I think that there's probably somebody that's going to listen to this that goes, that resource is already out there. And it may be. We're just unaware of it, Jeff. I do believe it would be incredibly helpful. And I'm going to put on a little bit of a different hat now. So much of work that's being done now on history is very slanted, or is revisionist, or it's not like there's an academic discipline that true historians held to for years and years and years. And that's what we need. We need somebody who does that depth of research to have, so that the story is thorough. Yes, it will be emotional, but their emotional bent will not be imposed upon the story, because the story itself is enough.
Exactly.
And that's what you know what I mean? Like if that work was done, and it may be done, like we said, and we just don't know about it. But I'm a big, I'm telling you, if I had that resource, I'd teach my kids and use it. And
yeah, man. And it's something, that for me, it is a passion and a love, because I think, Brent, that I grew up reading autobiographies. I grew up hearing about, as you mentioned again, historical characters and people in history. But I also am very aware of the grand narrative of African American history and the significance that it has within the overarching fiber of just our country alone. And I think that story, I would love to see a resource where the story is told in a very accurate and redemptive type of tone, with a redemptive type of tone, but also some moments where it's gonna be like, ooh, but it's true history that isn't anything that is for us to be threatened about or by, but that we can celebrate and just and remember.
The kind of work where somebody would look at it and go, this is apolitical. The kind of work where somebody would look at it and go, oh, this guy's liberal, that's why I wrote this. Oh, this guy's conservative.
Exactly.
No. Good historians, you don't know their personal persuasion.
Exactly.
It's just, give me the facts, man. Just
Here's
the facts. You know what I mean?
It's the data.
Here's the story.
Here's the story. Here's the data. Yeah.
Well, cool. I want you to tell us a couple things that most of us probably are unaware of with Black History Month. Like, there's a Black History Month flag.
Yeah.
There's a different theme that is selected every year.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and so if you've ever been seeing on social media or walking around or driving around and you've seen this flag that has 4 colors on the flag, it'll be a flag that has 4 colors, black, red, yellow, and green. And then you'll see, Black History Month embedded, like a crest embedded inside the flag. Well, the 4 colors of the flag have significance as far as meaning to really kind of encompass what the month symbolizes and all about. For example, the black symbolizes resilience. It's about strength and toughness, and this idea that as African Americans we have been resilient throughout history, throughout time, and that there is some inner and external strength that we should have. So again, I want to use this word carefully, but the pride of African American, just being proud.
It's sad that you have to be so careful with that term.
You do. Unfortunately, we talked about this all the time. Like, now we have to really clarify terms. And when I talk about pride, I'm talking about just this pride of saying I'm a proud African American. And so this flag kind of speaks to that. And so the black is about resilience. The red is about the innocent blood that has been shed throughout history, and that we know that not just through slavery and civil rights movement, but even in present day, there is this idea that we need to remember that there are still moments where we've seen innocent African American blood that has been shed.
And you and I have, in recent years, had conversations about that on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I mean, we spent a whole, was it 2 episodes on the Ahmaud Arbery death?
And I think even when we wrote the letters to our boys, and that's so important. So that red, Brent, is about the blood that was shed. The yellow in the flag is about optimism and justice, and that there is this hope and desire. And again, I'm laughing internally as I'm thinking, because I'm like, some of these terms I got to make sure I'm clear with. We talk about the equality, so it's optimism, justice, and equality, and we think about equality.
Well, let's just be honest for a minute, Jeff. We live in a time where there's so many benefits, but one of the downsides to the age, and I wouldn't trade this age for anything.
Right.
Anybody that would say they would is a fool. Like, I want to live 100 years ago.
Nah,
okay, then know that the infant mortality rate's so high, you might not have made it, or you'd have died early of this or that. I mean, you know what I mean? And your teeth would have fallen out of your mouth, and and by the way, you like your electricity.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
exactly.
there's like, we live, but one of the downsides to living in this time is, like, you're trying to use words, and the last several minutes you're stopping and qualifying those words.
And I hate that.
I mean, even the word social justice has now become polarizing, and it's become political and liberal. I mean, I am. You and I are not ashamed of who we are.
Yeah.
I'm a conservative in the traditional sense.
Yes.
I'm like,
and so you have to qualify there.
I had to qualify then.
You know?
You're right, because it means I'm different now. But I hold to conservative values in so many ways. Some people would think some of my positions are a little bit more moderate. I don't agree with some would think they were liberal, but here's the deal. I went to a conservative theological seminary and wrote my dissertation on social justice with the term social justice in the title.
Yeah.
That was I graduated with my doctorate in 2013.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody blinked an eye at that statement.
Right.
Nobody thought, oh, we got to qualify.
Right.
Less than 11 years later.
Yes.
We're trying to have a conversation, and every word that's important, all these big terms, you're having to qualify them.
Yeah.
That's a weird world to live in.
Hey, and 11 years later, when I wrote my dissertation, I had to have 3 extra pages because I had to qualify terms that were just regular terms, you know. And when we talk about, you know, equality or equity,
what does that mean?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so you're right. So I had to do extra research because we're in the age of having to qualify, which is why I'm thinking like that. It's like, golly. So, but so we're talking about when we say equity, you know, it's just having the equality and within, you know, mankind, human race is African American, heterosexual African Americans, you know, that we desire, you know, justice and equality. That there is this hope and optimism, Brent, that man, we are moving forward, right? That man, though we reflect and look back and, you know, what once was, we know that today that's not so much the case, but also acknowledging there is still more that needs to be done.
You know, on that point and that color in the flag, equity and justice, there is the argument in academic and public square is, you know, when you talk about equity, are we talking about equity of opportunity or equity of outcome? And, you know, as you and I are more on the side of equity of opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the door should be open to everyone. Everybody should get the same door open to them.
Yeah.
But equity of outcome is to predetermine what someone will be able to accomplish. And it doesn't matter what you do, you're going to get the same outcome.
Yeah.
And so there is a little bit more of a conservative versus liberal position on some of those issues. I'm not qualified in any way because I don't think a white person should pipe up and have a strong opinion. But I think we should at least say every year there should be more equity of opportunity than the previous year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I actually, and because see, I think it denigrates black people to go, well, we're just going to guarantee the equity of outcome for you. Because we're going, it almost is to cheapen it and go, I don't think you can earn that on your own.
Right.
I believe, you know, some of the people I look up to the most, like you, are smarter than me and more talented than me. And, you know, and there's a part of me that goes, no, if everybody just had those the right opportunities, they're like, that's all, they'd prove themselves. You know what I mean?
And to me personally, my personal opinion on it, and I know that even within my own community, within the African American community, my position of what I'm about to say, it varies and differs. But even for myself, I don't want a handout. I do want an opportunity.
Right.
I would love to have an opportunity to interview for a job or a ministry or to have an opportunity to be in this room. I want an opportunity, but I want the opportunity, but I don't want it to be handed to me. Right. I don't want to. I'm a person that just believe that, you know, handouts for me, it makes me think, do the people in this room think I actually belong?
Right.
You know, I want to have an opportunity to be in the room because one, I feel like I'm qualified to be in the room, but I'm a person who I struggle with the concept that, you know, there should be handouts given for those who are undeserving. And
the equity of opportunity, folks would argue, but if you didn't have things at certain places in history like affirmative action, you wouldn't have certain opportunities. And there's an argument. So what I'm saying is, from a 30,000-foot view, yes, there may have been moments where we needed things like that, but from a big picture, this thing, really the goal should be opportunity.
It absolutely should be opportunity. That's all. And I think when you think about the pride of African Americans and what we desire. So you just want an opportunity, want to be seen. The equity to me is being able to be seen by my peers as equal.
Let you stand on your own 2 feet.
Stand on my own 2 feet. You know that I am an conservative, educated, black, evangelical individual who,
there's a T-shirt right there,
who worked hard to get here. Now, I am grateful for the opportunities that have been given to me and doors that have been open, but I also know that, man, I feel like I can stand on my own 2 feet, right? In that perspective. So there's a lot of, I won't go deeper into that, but there's a lot of schools of thoughts there, and I get it. I understand, because honestly, Brent, there are others that I know who will never have certain opportunities that have been afforded, and I get that. And so I get the opportunity and privilege, which has been a blessing for me over the last 20 plus years, to be able to be a voice for those who aren't in certain rooms and certain spaces and places. So I recognize the responsibility of that. And so that's what the yellow is for. But the green, the fourth color, is the green, which is about rich greenery and natural resources. If you've ever seen many African Americans with the natural hair, whether it's twisted, locked, afros or whatever, that really speaks to the connection to the motherland, that the motherland was a place that was rich in resources, and that there was this love for the naturalness of how we looked. There wasn't a lot of things that you put on that you would consider to be, anti-black, that make you kind of look like someone else.
So was there a debate in the black community at some point over wigs and weaves and things of that nature?
Man, listen, it is a
did I just step on a landmine?
No. Yeah, it's a deep conversation, but it is natural versus weaves and wigs. It's light skin versus dark skin.
Whoa.
I mean, there is so many levels of conversations within the black community that when you think about, man, just the argument, it is, to be very honest and transparent, there are some who are very much, if you see women who are very much committed to wearing their hair natural, no perms, no press or anything. They feel like when you perm or press your hair, you're trying to kind of dismiss the beauty of your natural black heritage, and you're kind of trying to look like someone outside of your race and your culture. And so there is this internal debate of like, should you or should you not,
Yeah.
And so that's a part of the conversation within that color of green, that part of the flag is like, hey, no, we are people who come from a place, a region, a land in Africa where there was an abundance of resources. We did not care about weaves or wigs, and we loved the beauty of the coarse, thick, nappy hair. Why now, when we come to another land, do we try to morph into the look of,
But at the same time, you're not saying there's anything wrong with having a weave.
Oh, no. Listen, not even a little bit. I'm saying, I think to each his own.
I'm just trying to keep you from getting a nasty email.
Yeah. No. I'm okay with it. And so every people who would send me an email know what I'm saying is true. And so, but the truth of the matter, to each his own. I'm just saying that there is just different schools of debate.
I hear you.
And conversation as to the why.
You know what's funny is, listen to you say that, when we adopted our children, 2 girls and a boy, my girls came to me with braids, not their hair, but knotted into tied into their hair, and so their hair was very unhealthy, actually. And so one of the things that my wife Christina said is, you can do whatever you want with your hair, but we got to get it healthy first. Let's get this hair healthy.
Yeah.
And so we got the braids taken out to give the hair a chance to grow a little bit, and obviously, like one of my daughter's hair is completely different from my other's daughter's hair. Now, the one caveat in this story is they are kids, and so my youngest child decided to play haircut one day, And I come home and she's got a bald spot in the front of her, on top of her head. And so it's been about 2 years trying to get that fixed.
Yes.
Like, girl, like, she literally gave scissors to her brother and was like, cut it this way. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, bless her heart. But anyways, but, you know, once their hair got a little healthier and they had the choice of doing whatever they wanted, they chose natural. That was their, no, we don't, no, this.
Yeah.
Now they'll put little braids in it, like themselves. They'll braid it, or they'll put little barrettes, or they wear bows and do all kinds of things. And Ari's is long, so she calls them her pom-poms. She loves doing her pom-poms, you know. And so, but when given the choice, that was their natural kind of inclination.
Yeah. And so here's the thing, you know, within our community, man, there's a lot of different, like I said, school of thoughts. I don't think that, again, one is better than the other.
Sure.
I think it is just understanding the origin of the why, you know. And so that is, so when you see the flag, you know, you see those four colors, those four colors all have significant meaning to really kind of explain the purpose of Black history.
So there's also, you told me, every year a different theme.
There is, yeah.
So what have been some themes, and what's the theme this year?
So the theme this year is all about African Americans and the arts, and so it is an appreciation for African Americans and a celebration.
So Carl Weathers was a good segue.
He was. It was a great segue. Yes, it was, because one of the arts was film. So film, culinary, music, architectural design, and literature. So this is kind of the theme for this year for Black history. And the theme, honestly, there's no rhyme or reason. It really is just, in the past, it's what's going on in the time. You know, there's been the themes of, you know, Black history and culture, just and that's such a broad term. Theme of Black history and remembering the movement, the civil rights movement, you know, whenever, especially things that were happening when we were really kind of in those deep political tensions, or, you know, dealing with COVID and stuff, you know. So all of the themes are kind of tied around what's going on in real time, but also how do you kind of take certain segments of history and then highlight that. And so you know, now you'll see this year people talk about people in the different forms of arts. And so you will hear again about people like Maya Angelou, W.E.B. Du Bois, Alex Haley, you know, all of these individuals that will be talked about and celebrated, that kind of connect with the theme. But there's so many others, man. Like you know, there's these gentlemen called the McKissick brothers. The McKissick brothers, they were the first Black-owned architectural firm in the country, and they were based in Nashville, Tennessee, in 1905.
Okay.
And so a lot of things, we have our friends there at Lifeway and in Nashville. We go to Nashville a lot.
Yeah.
And when you go to downtown Nashville, some of the old historical buildings, they designed it. The McKissick brothers, Moses and Calvin.
Wow.
And so men like that. There's also I wrote down Robert, because I always forget his name, Robert Robertson Taylor. He was actually the first accredited architect. And so a lot of the buildings, Brent, that have been designed in some of the historical Black colleges, like Tuskegee University in particular, you know, Robert Robertson, he actually designed it. And so,
you know, a historic Black, have you ever been to Wilberforce?
I have not.
I've always wanted to go.
I have not been.
They have, it's historic Black college. They have William Wilberforce's actual Bible.
Yeah. And
I was an hour and a half away when one day I was speaking at a conference, and I was looking at my flight, and I'm like, can I get over there?
Yeah.
Can I? I've always wanted to go see that.
Yeah, and I've seen pictures of it. We actually, when I was at Morehouse, I forgot what class it was, but one of my classes, my history class, my history professor was talking about it and mentioned it and stuff. And so I've always wanted to get there and just never did.
It's off the beaten trail.
Yeah,
you gotta want to get there.
Yeah.
But man, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I would just love to. You know, my favorite, and this is such a selfish statement, my favorite of the arts are the culinary.
The culinary, yes.
My wife just got a cookbook, the Jubilee, it's something Jubilee cookbook, but it's a celebration of I don't know if it's called African cuisine or something African American, but it's
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah, and I will say there are so many, brother.
I can gain 20 pounds just reading the book. Yes, you can. Just looking at the recipes.
There are so many amazing, and that is, one of the things that within the arts and as far as culinary arts will be something that is celebrated. So you will see, food is a big part of African American culture and history, and so there is a lot of jubilee when we sit around the table and eat some of those sweet potato pies.
Yes.
Yeah. So that really is, man, the theme this year, and so I really love how as Black History kind of takes us on a journey that is not just about the names we know, the MLKs, which we always love, the Rosa Parks, we always love, the Shirley Chisholms and all of those that we talk about, man, but it is really kind of saying the theme allows us as a country to see or hear or have access and be exposed to characters like the McKissick brothers that you don't really know about or talk about.
Jeff, I'd go so far as to say a celebration of Black history is a celebration of God at work in culture. I love the Micah 6:8 passage, but what does the Lord require of us? But all right, we're gonna have to edit this part out. I can't remember if it's to walk humbly comes before do justice. Micah 6:8, real quick. Let me pull it up. I want to go to that text. I want to make sure I get it right.
Yeah.
I've only written on it 20 times, but anyways. Did I mess something up? Too bad.
No. Am I doing?
You are a little quieter on the recordings.
Am I?
Mm-hmm. Than I am. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good.
Good.
Okay.
Well, it was blocking your face.
Oh, okay.
Can I keep talking? Mm-hmm. Okay. But the Micah 6:8 passage where it says this, that he has shown you, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? By the way, is there any more important question than what does God want?
Yeah.
And here's what he said, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God.
Yeah.
And the idea of justice as it is presented to us here in Micah 6:8 and elsewhere in the Old Testament is an expression of God's character and righteousness in culture.
Yeah.
It's a practical expression, really. And so it's something that we're to do.
Yeah.
That's why the word do is attached to it.
Yeah.
He didn't say, I want you to just kind of love justice,
right?
Which a lot of people do. They like to watch movies about it. They like to clap from a distance.
Sure.
He's saying, no, do it.
Yeah.
I want you to go do this stuff. And so I know that term's gotten hijacked, like we said at the beginning of our conversation. But Jeff, we should all be actively involved in what does a practical expression of God's character and righteousness in culture look like. So I think when looked at through a biblical worldview, not all of Black History Month. Obviously, if you're celebrating a poet who celebrates something that is anti-God, no one would say that's God at work. That's sin at work.
Right,
that's the enemy at work.
Yeah, and that transcends ethnicity.
Yeah, ethnicity. That's not But so much of Black history is an example of God's character being reflected in practical ways in culture.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think gets missed too as we kind of look at present day, time is, Brent, one of the things I've always said about our relationship, what I love is that proximity helps deepen your insight and awareness. And so the deeper you're in relationship with people who come from different places than you, the more you have a sense of understanding, the more there's a sense of compassion. And even if there's some things that you may not fully agree with per se, the heart of the person, and there's healthy dialogue that comes. And I think that, when I think of, and we just, for time's sake, don't have time to really kind of go down history, but I think of some of the positions that many African Americans in present day take, whether it is seen in politics as a liberal position or supporting a candidate that appears to be or maybe even liberal. I think some of the challenges in that perspective of that individual is not understanding, getting the full context of the why. That there is out there to say that many African Americans, especially in the evangelical, and I'm talking about in the evangelical world, the black Christians who have the same conservative theology as everyone.
Yeah.
But when it gets back to, hey, but I have the conservative theology, but I also have a desire for justice and equity,
right,
and equality and being seen as equal, then that's where, honestly, I wish we could have more healthy dialogue.
I agree.
To really understand that it isn't as muddy. The water isn't as muddy as it appears.
Right.
But there are some things that do, I believe, even on our end as African Americans and African American community, that needs to be clarified.
Same. I think it's same with white evangelicals too. Who I think that I'm gonna go so far as to say this. I think the Democratic Party takes advantage of the black vote, and I think that the Republican Party takes for granted, like the Democratic Party takes for granted the black vote. I think the Republican Party takes it for granted the white evangelical vote.
Very true.
I mean, I think they just start off with that's already in our pocket.
That's in our pocket.
We don't have to earn that vote.
Right.
But I think to your point, this tension that exists should demonstrate that we as followers of Jesus don't belong.
Right. That's the point.
Like we are foreign elements in this world. That's why Paul said, shine like stars in the world.
Right.
We don't belong here.
Right.
But we're redeemed, not yet restored, journeying through the broken pieces of this world to the heaven country as best we can, which is why you are going to have some people, maybe they're honoring heritage and history, maybe they feel deeply about one issue over another, and there's going to be this disagreement, right? And I think the disagreement in and of itself highlights something that neither of us, like there's no category that can capture us.
Right, exactly.
One of the things I love about Gen Z and Gen Alpha behind them is they don't like the term identity politics.
They do not.
Because they go, no, nobody gets my identity.
Right.
And especially those who are followers of Jesus in those generations, they're going, that's counterintuitive to what the Bible teaches.
Yes.
I have one identity and one identity alone.
Yes.
Christian.
Yes.
I follow Jesus.
Yes.
And so, yes, I'm going to vote. Yes, I'm going to be active. Yes, I'll have to make a choice. Yes, I've always said, don't let your idealism get in the way of your practical engagement. And so, yes, be an idealist, but be a practical idealist. You got to do something.
Absolutely.
You can't sit on the sidelines and go, I'm passive because I'm an idealist.
Right.
No, you're a loser at that point. Right. No, you got to do something. So what would lead us to be more patient with each other is if we did get in proximity with one another, proximity breeds patience, and that patience actually will lead to unity, I think.
It does, absolutely.
And that unity allows for, that unity doesn't look like everybody came over to one side or the other.
Yeah, that's uniformity.
That's uniformity. That's right. That unity looks like there's grace in this context, in this tribe, for disagreement.
Yes.
You're not going to convince me. To go vote for that person. I'm not going to convince you to go. But what if our goal wasn't to convince? Like, here's what I'm tired of.
There you go.
Man, I'm getting off. I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is history.
Here's what I'm tired of. I'm tired of the first question out of both mouths. Like, white evangelical looking at a black pastor who 99% of his church is going to vote for Democrat. And black pastor looking at a white pastor who 99% of his church is going to vote Republican. And I'm tired of the first question out of both mouths being, how can your people vote for that candidate when they stand for this issue?
Yes, sir.
Why do we start there? So what we're saying with that question is we're just going to assume division.
Right.
We're not going to start with something that God has accomplished. We're going to start with something we have accomplished, which is division. That sin divided us, right? So what if the first question out of our mouth is, how can I get to know you better? How can I do life with you?
That's it.
How can I struggle with you?
You're preaching.
How can I pray for you?
Yeah, man.
When are we going to share break bread around the same table together? What if that was the first thing? Not how can you vote for a candidate that believes in abortion. Do I think abortion is an atrocity? Do I think it is murder? It is. But I think the starting point of our conversation already predisposes us to division as a result of the outcome of that conversation.
So good.
And I just think we better repent of that. Let's just, I better stop. I'm going to stop right there. Right. Black History Month, Carl Weathers.
Yo, listen, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to open up that can, but I agree. I think
somebody will go, "You're a liberal, Brent."
Yeah, but it's not that. No, you're a follower of Jesus Christ who is trying to do everything you can to live your life worthy of the gospel.
I appreciate you saying that, buddy. But I mean,
but you're right. I mean, everything that you said, and unfortunately, and it's we've both, Brent, we've had countless conversations together, and we've been in both tribes, and we've heard it on both sides, and we're both just sitting here scratching our head.
And both sides have some good points.
Yeah, they do. But both sides can be absolutely inaccurate and wrong.
Yeah, both sides got some big blind spots.
Right? Yes, and I think that when we take secondary and tertiary issues and flip up invert the pyramid, and we forget about what's primary and essential and what really unites us, I think that's when we get in danger, in trouble, because what you're talking about is we lead in from that position and posture of secondary and tertiary issues, which are important, and we need to talk through, debate on, whatever. But when we take the pyramid and we take the essentials of the faith, and the thing that connects us all, that are the non-negotiables, and we put that down at the bottom, and we use our secondary, tertiary issues that are subjective, opinionated, culture-based, denominational-driven, and they become that we treat them as the primary issues, like the inerrancy of Scripture, understanding the significance of the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus, and understanding. We take the pyramid, we flip it. That's when we get in trouble, because now we justify inaccurately because we've kind of inverted the pyramid. So.
It is a sad state of affairs that God accomplished on the cross of Jesus Christ. And we're preaching at the Lift Tour this year through a text where Jesus goes, "You thought that I came to bring peace?
No, I came to bring division."
And that division happens because there was fire and there was judgment.
Yeah.
Or fire, which is judgment, and there was baptism, which is the crucifixion.
Yeah.
But the crucifixion, the division that Jesus talks about, actually is what gives birth to our togetherness. The division is he's saying, no, because of the bloody baptism that I went through on the cross, I'm running after you in the wilderness, and I'm rescuing you.
Right.
And when I rescue you, that division means you are divided from people who are divided from me.
Right.
The division that I'm talking about, Jesus is explaining to us, is actually unity with God. A tribe of people who have been reunified with their Creator.
Right.
And what happens is God has accomplished this miraculous thing in which we share one identity.
Yeah.
And yet, when it comes to issues like this, we start with division. It is a sad state of affairs that we have glossed over the miraculous to get to our pettiness.
Woo!
But
that's good.
Like I said, I better stop.
Yeah. Hey, Carl Weathers. Man, no, that's so good. But, here's the thing. At the end of the day, as we've been talking about all these things, I think even the conversation we just had, Brent, part of the conversation we just had, it does connect in so many ways to the reason why conversations around the origin of Black history
need to happen.
They need to happen.
Yeah. I mean, that flag, I mean, Jeff, somebody should create a whether it's a book or a documentary, use that as the template.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that fourfold thing. That's memorable. It's easy. It's sticky to your brain.
Yes.
And that'd be a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you always giving us a platform to have these conversations, especially here in February. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this conversation was as enjoyable for you as it was for us. And as always, want you to do what you do. What is it like? All the stuff.
Just follow us, subscribe.
Yeah,
share,
it's like all those things. Just do that and so.
But follow us at SOU Lead.
Yeah,
that's our handle, and so we post constant updates there and clips from the show and from the conversations and things of that nature. Yeah. So at SLU Lead, and I do pray that you'll take time and to just, you don't have to take everything about this conversation, but just maybe take one aspect of the Black History Month flag, one theme within that flag,
right,
and just use that as okay, this will be my starting point of how I'm gonna study or learn more, but find a way to be engaged, to be to learn more, to awaken to more of what's happened in history, and really to learn more about what God is doing in and through history. And until we meet again, I pray that you wander well and shine like stars.
Take care, guys.